Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and compare the iPhone 10 and compare it against the iPhone 8 and see which specific phone is a better one for you. Now, I think you might know which one my answer would be, but if you want to pick up some phones I would recommend this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, you can definitely tell that both these phones are very different, but they are actually very similar as well. Now with the iPhone 8, which came out in 2017, this iPhone on the front has a 4.7-inch IPS panel on it. Now it's a Retina panel, so it looks pretty good, decent resolution, but you can definitely tell it definitely looks like a dated panel. At the top you have quite a bit of bezel, at the bottom you have quite a bit of bezel as well, and that can be kind of a big issue for some people out there. Now for me personally, this type of display, it's fine, but the panel, like the bezel on the top and the bottom, the home button here, is not really the best look, and it definitely makes this phone look way more older than it probably should look like, in my opinion, for a 2017 phone. So, in terms of the front of the iPhone 8, definitely looks dated, but when you look at something like the iPhone 10, this phone looks far better than the iPhone 8. This phone on the front has a 5.8-inch OLED panel, and this was a very good approach from Apple. This was a smart thing they did here. And even since 2017, again, these phones came out at the same time, these phones look completely different. Although internally they probably are like the same speed and everything. It's crazy to me how much better a phone like the iPhone 10 looks over something like the iPhone 8. So that in of itself is a really, really big thing for sure. Now in terms of the rest of the body, you can kind of tell in my opinion, again, the iPhone 10 kind of wins here. I think the iPhone 10 was one of the first iPhones to actually have this like metallic texture on the side, and it definitely looks very good. Now mine is a little scratched up, but you can see the iPhone 8 had that original kind of like styling to it, which still looks great, but I definitely do think the iPhone 10 looks better here. And on the back, we have glass backs on both. I will probably say that both phones look great, they both are very awesome. The iPhone 8 I have is very cracked. I cracked this thing so many times, but you can see with something like both of them, there's more similarity here than there are differences because they came out the exact same time. So you're not really going to be seeing one being like way better than the other one here. They're both going to be roughly around the same thing. Now on top of that, single camera setup on the top left of the iPhone 8. The iPhone 10 had a dual camera setup right there. They both have lightning ports at the bottom, IP certification on both, wireless charging. First iPhones to even bring wireless charging, which is actually pretty crazy. And that kind of covers it up on the outside. Again, I like both these phones a lot. But there's just no competition. The iPhone 10 clearly wins here for the body standpoint for sure. Now on top of that, with something like the iPhone 8, you are kind of stuck in a situation where the body looks just way older than it needs to be. So it's just one of those things that's just kind of unfortunate with this phone, to be honest. But I will say, both these phones are going to be lasting the same exact amount of time of software. So both the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10, including the iPhone 8 Plus, are the lowest supported iPhones right now on iOS. So if you're somebody who loves iOS, like I love iOS a lot, well, that may be a little bit unfortunate for some of you, but these phones are going to be supported for the exact same time. And in my opinion, I think these phones are going to be getting iOS 17 and probably ending around next year, probably mid next year. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 8 has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 10 has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. I did have to unplug the iPhone 10. That one was still charging, but now they're good now. So let's go and open it up. All the apps are clear in the background. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now one thing I want to note too is that the gesture-based design on the iPhone 10 is way better than the home button design on the iPhone 8. So even if the iPhone 8 may be faster sometimes, the iPhone 10 is going to seem faster because just look at this. If I hop out of an application, it is a much quicker experience on something like an iPhone 10 than on the iPhone 8. Clock, 3, 2, 1. I do think the speeds are probably going to be roughly the same. Settings, which are going to have camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay, kind of the same thing. Photos, 3, 2, 1. Again, the iPhone 10 was the faster one there. Hopping out of these two. Now they're on the same exact version of software as well. Hopping out of this one. We do have some of these third-party applications we can probably just get into. I do want to try Genshin Impact. Now this is a big game. 3, 2, 1. So what's going to happen here is I'm just going to wait until they get into the main panel. Again, like I said, this is a pretty massive game, so we probably should expect some differences here. I would probably say the iPhone 10 is going to be the faster one again. But even then, all you're getting is an additional gigabyte of RAM on the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8. They are the exact same chipset, exact same core speeds as well, so it's not even like there's a big difference there either. So that's actually a pretty interesting thing. We do have Roblox, which I don't even think I have here, so we'll just skip that one. We'll get into some of these other applications. We can try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now this is a kind of like a big game, but not really. It's just the loading speed kind of takes some time. So there can be some pop-ups that come up, so I'll be sure to kind of click out of them if they do pop up at all. And this one did have it a little bit, but even then it was like just a split second. And even if we give it like a 2 or 3 second delay, I mean, you're still getting it onto it faster on the iPhone 10 by quite a bit than on the iPhone 8. So again, that pop-up came up, but it's still faster, I would say, on the iPhone 10 than on the iPhone 8 there. If we go and click play, I kind of messed up in between both, but you can see the iPhone 8 glitched up a little bit. I mean, it glitched up quite a bit on the iPhone 8, and hopefully you can see that over the camera. Hopping out of these two applications, let's go get into something like Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 10 again is the faster one. Hopping out of here, we can go into Snake vs. Blocks. 3, 2, 1. Now, I didn't think the RAM would actually cause this big of a difference, but it's looking like it probably is. And I seem to forget about that because nowadays our iPhones have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so it has twice the amount as the iPhone 8, which is pretty wild. We'll do one more. We'll do something like Twitter. 3, 2, 1. But I think we kind of get the idea. The iPhone 10 is clearly the faster one here, except for that application, but I was logged in here, so. However, I was logged in to my iPhone 10, so I guess it's kind of a little bit of a difference you're going to get there, but ultimately the iPhone 10 is probably the faster phone when it comes down to it. Now, in terms of the cameras on the back, like I mentioned, you're getting a dual camera setup on the iPhone 10. You're getting a single camera setup on the iPhone 8. And I do think both these phones are, pretty good. They're pretty decent cameras. They're similar, more similar than not, but the issue is the iPhone 8 does not have that telephoto lens. You can do 4K on the back, you can do 1080p on the front, and that's really kind of all you're getting. I mean, you're getting, features here and there for sure. Like, it's not like a horrible camera on the iPhone 8. So with this type of phone, I mean, it doesn't even tell you how much zooming in and zooming out capability you have. It just gives you the slider at the bottom. But it did come out with the 7 Plus, showing you how much zoom you had. Then you have video mode, you have, panorama mode. You don't actually have portrait mode on this camera, which is actually very interesting. This was one of the last iPhones to not have portrait mode. Since this iPhone, I mean, the iPhone 10, basically all the iPhones that have came out have gotten portrait mode every single year, except for this one. So this was the last one to not have it. But beyond that, I mean, I think it's still a very, very basic camera. The iPhone SE3 that Apple's still making is kind of the same as that camera we're having here, so it's really not even that big of a difference. But definitely keep that in mind. Something like the iPhone 10, I think this camera is, better, but it's definitely not like the best camera now. I mean, it's not even like the best budget camera, I would say. I would say this thing is fairly decent, Like I said, it shows you how much zooming in you have. So you can do 10x zoom. There's no ultra-wide camera on this thing, so you cannot zoom any further than it already is. You have portrait mode, you have square and panorama mode, you have slow-mo, time-lapse. You do have kind of a decent, I wouldn't say it's a decent camera, I'd say it's a better camera than what you're getting on the iPhone 8. So I think that in and of itself is a pretty cool thing. And to kind of sum up this video, what I'll tell you is, I definitely do think the iPhone 10 is probably the better phone in almost every single area. I can't really think of an area where the iPhone 8 is better. Maybe even the price tag standpoint, maybe better. Like, I don't know. Like, the iPhone 8 is going to be cheaper, but the iPhone 10, you're getting a much better looking phone. It looks so good. You're getting a really good build quality. You're getting, the performance is better on the iPhone 10 objectively. The only area where the iPhone 8 is kind of even slightly better, maybe like I said in the price tag area, but even then I would probably say the iPhone 10 is probably the better one when it comes down to it. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.